There's a lot of sociology in looking at the stones and following the stories of the people who were there. People like Sweet Evening Breeze, James Herndon, apparently sort of a zany character, lived down on Pearl Street. He was a black cross-dresser, and he was an orderly at the Good Samaritan Hospital, and apparently was left there as a young boy by his family. They sort of gave him odd jobs around the hospital and took care of him. His house caught on fire once, and so the fire department comes and everybody cooks him cakes and brings him food and treats him very nicely. And he has such a great time that he sets his house on fire again so that everybody will bring him more food and be nice to him again. So anyway, he was sort of this crazy guy. They tell the story that he was let down in a basket at the old Woodland Park Auditorium, and he dances the dance of the bongo bongos. He dies, and he's buried in the Lexington Cemetery, which would have been, it's mostly white burials there, but he's buried there. And the Talon Winery has one of its most popular brands of wine is Sweet Evening Breeze, and he was called Sweets, or Sweet Evening Breeze was his name. Belle Breezing is a sad story, really. She was apparently a very bright person and very able, and made quite a lot of money, had beautifully tailored clothes. Her clients would give her beautiful furniture. And so she was quite a legend. They would have the racing meets, and everybody would go to visit Belle. And she had quite a bit of hospitality there. She became famous in her profession, and she was just sort of the local part of the local scene. She had this interesting house on Northeastern Avenue, and it was closed down during World War I because there were so many troops here, and she was corrupting the troops. She lived on to a great age. She lived on into the 1940s there by herself, and she became addicted to morphine. So there was just this doctor who would go to see her and give her morphine shots. And that was about her only contact with people. And then she lives on to a great age and finally dies. And it's mentioned in Time magazine because she was supposed to have been the model for Belle Watling and Gone with the Wind. Belle Breezing had a lot in the Catholic cemetery. She was buried secretly with no one there, and it becomes the talk of the town after they discover that she's gone. Her stone is a more recent stone. There's an early stone there from an earlier member of her family, and it's a large obelisk, and it says, "Blessed are the pure in heart." So whatever impurities she may have had and profited from in her own business-like way, she says that she had a pure heart. And her stone misspells her name. Her name was Belle Breezing, B-R-E-Z-I-N-G, and it has two E's on the stone. So you find that occasionally. The person who's most remembered from the cholera epidemic in 1833 was the man who dug many of the graves, whose name was William Solomon. He was called King Solomon. And Solomon was from Virginia, and was supposed to have been from the same area as Henry Clay, and knew Henry Clay when they were boys, and they both ended up in Lexington. And he became an alcoholic, and there were people dying all over town, and nobody to bury them. And Solomon went out and dug the graves, and survived it. And there's a monument to him at the Lexington Cemetery, calling him King Solomon. He was written up in a story by James Lane Allen. He became such a hero. There are famous Kentuckians who have no monument at all, like Thomas Lewinsky, the architect. You'll see a picture of his burial site at the Lexington Cemetery. It's just grass. And he built Ashland, and he built Mansfield, and he built Clay Villa, and he designed other houses and other buildings, churches, was one of the builders of Loudon House, and no tombstone. And yet the Clay family dog has a marble monument that says dog on it, but nothing for Thomas Lewinsky. So there's a lot of irony in there, you know, who gets the tall stone, and who gets the short stone, and who gets no stone. So it's an interesting adventure to follow. You know, there's so many interests that enter into examining cemeteries. People are fascinated by them because a lot of people are interested in genealogy, and so you've got genealogical information there. There are people interested in architectural design, and so you find Greek Revival stones, and you find stones of various periods. You find Art Nouveau stones and Art Deco stones, and there are people who are interested in monumental lettering. You find all sorts of lettering on the stones. So they go in lots of directions. People are interested in military history and genealogy and the design of stones and lettering and landscaping, historic preservation. It goes in lots of directions. So it's an interesting study, and it's one that will keep on going.